I work as a background painter, although I would like to speak as an advocate for color stylists and share with you why I believe their job category should be given the same value and treatment as the job category I work in. To quote the painter Hans Hofmann, colors must fit together as pieces in a puzzle or cogs in a wheel. When it comes to characters, props, and effects in animation, this puzzle solver is a color stylist. Yet, why is this the lowest valued role within 2D animation design departments? First, I will explain how design departments are currently structured and how our contract values these different roles. Then I will discuss some myths that surround the job of color styling, and finally, I will share exactly why this job has been marginalized in our industry. Color stylists are normally found working alongside character designers, prop designers, background artists, and background painters within the design department of 2D animated productions. What's interesting is that those latter four roles share the same exact contract minimums, wage scheduling, and supervising provisions. Although in each of those respects, color styling is treated differently. Their journey rates are 16.85% less. They take twice as long to reach those rates, and they have no supervising provision afforded to them. Despite the fact that experienced and highly talented members can be found working as color stylist supervisors, yet these individuals are often paid no better than an entry-level designer. So what makes color stylists so different to have been given such an unfavorable placement in our contract? Let's look at some possibilities. The primary job responsibility of a color stylist is to design the color palettes for each character that appears on screen. And through their choices, they create a story with color. This is what the job of a color stylist looked like circa 1993 when this job category first entered into our contract. Color stylists chose color palettes from a swatch library and then handed these color directions off to a color modeler who had the job of physically painting in model sheets. And on some productions, the range of colors that could be selected from were fairly limited. Whereas in today's world of digital animation, color stylists are their own color modelers, and the amount of colors they must navigate through is infinite, making the job of a color stylist a lot less simple than it may have once seemed. And the fact is, color stylists don't just color characters. They also design the colors of props, effects, create special lighting palettes for all of the above, draw shadows and rim lights on models, composite models with backgrounds to design the final look of a scene, format files for shipping, and write up scene-by-scene color direction notes for overseas studios to follow, which is a job in itself that can take a full 8-hour workday per episode to complete, and that sometimes looks like this. The position requires a high level of asset recall to quickly identify which of the thousands of existing assets in a show might need to be referenced for an upcoming shot. As a last stop in the design department, they need excellent time management skills to hit deadlines while working up against delays acquired from the other designers, and they need a razor-sharp eye to catch any lingering mistakes and inconsistencies from the other designers when bringing all the pieces together in a final composition while coloring assets. The position also demands multitasking, jumping from models to effects to palettes, or writing detailed color notes such as these and creating technical diagrams for overseas to reference. The position has already changed radically, but more changes are on the horizon. As shows move to Toon Boom Harmony as an industry standard, the position is becoming even more technologically specialized as artists now need to build and manage digital palette libraries within the program and must learn to work with complex node-based hierarchical file systems. So if the nature of the work that color stylists do is no less demanding and requiring of skill that other designers must possess, then there must be some other reason why it's treated as a lesser role in our contract. Maybe it has something to do with what value there is in the end product of their work. Let's consider this color model from the first season of Rick and Morty. This is Snuffles, the Smith's family dog, and this is his alter ego, Snowball. This model sheet was created with the help of a model designer and a color stylist under the supervision of an art director. Although these model sheets helped inform the animation team in order to bring this character to life on screen in this particular episode of Rick and Morty, they were also used to help inform product companies who have acquired the license to this intellectual property. as to how to manufacture their merchandise on model. Here are several officially licensed products based on this character alone that are currently available. As someone who has sat in the design room at one of these product companies, I can guarantee you that these model sheets or some semblance of them is being referenced to by an employee in order to match Pantone colors or fabric swatches for the sake of manufacturing. What they're ultimately deferring to and relying upon when selecting these colors for manufacturing is the work of a color stylist. And how much is this type of merchandise even making for studios? Before Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland signed on to make 7 more seasons of Rick and Morty, they ran an audit on Adult Swim and discovered that in 2017 alone, the studio had earned $108 million from this one property. $108 million in merchandise in 1 year for one show. Of course, several factors play into the success of a character and its products, and it's undeniable that color stylists play a critical part as the ones who choose the color palettes for these characters. As Laura Lehman, a fan of animation, once expressed to our committee, the colors of animated television shows dictate whether or not I will watch the show and whether or not I'll buy the merchandise. In other words, it's equally, if not more important than the rest of the design. And I'd like to note that the merchandise shown here is just the beginning, with recent news coming out just in the last week of new licensees for this franchise. So if we've established that color stylist work is just as demanding as that of any other design position, and that the content of their work actually provides a real value when it comes to the merchandise that studios choose to license and produce, then what is it that makes them so different to deserve such a disparaging placement in our contract? Maybe we need to start to consider who is actually working as a color stylist, and historically, what type of person was expected to be in this line of work. After all, we know that color stylists existed since the 1930s as crew members of the first full-length color animated production, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This is how members of Disney's ink and paint department looked like in the mid-1940s. And here are more Disney ink and paint crew members from a production in 1983. And this is who is working in this role today, as compared to other design roles. As you can see, those working in the ink and paint department, where color stylists are currently categorized under in our contract, were and are typically women. This department was so closely associated with women that in the early days of Disney Studios, it was nicknamed the Nunnery. We can now safely conclude that the job of color styling, its contract minimums, wage scheduling, and lack of supervisor recognition as a victim of gender bias in the animation industry. And it's time we correct these inequalities in every respect. And it's not just myself and our committee here that believes this. It is also 2,630 supporters, including over a dozen show creators who have signed a petition agreeing that the job of a color stylist requires just as much skill and provides just as much value as any other role found in the design department, and that therefore they deserve pay equity in our contract.
Okay, the tape, the tape let loose after 3 years.
One last thing, I leave you with a quote left by Keshi Zhang, a member of Local 839, speaking in support of our campaign. Value women, value work traditionally deemed for women, value color stylists, or as these puzzle solvers should more accurately be called, color designers. Thank you.